All right. Hello, my name is Austin Ralph, and I'm in Dr. Hardaway's ITM 201 class on Tuesdays. And today I'm going to be presenting on open source software. It's a new kind of software that is changing the way we interact with technology and with each other, and it's paving a new way for collaborative and interactive environments in technology. I'm going to be going over multiple topics, but I'm going to start with what is open source software itself? How does this open source software benefit users, and how does it even work? What are the specifics behind it? What are the components of this new open source software? What are also the types of this open source software? Because there are different types, there's different capabilities for this software. And then there's also, as I said, there's benefits for the users of this open source software, but there's also drawbacks in the eyes of businesses and users alike. So I'm going to go through those as well at the very end. But first, what even is this open source software? What's the big word about it? Why is everybody so gung-ho about it? Well, open source software allows users to manipulate the original version, the original design of the product to fit their context, to fit what they want to do. This gives users creative freedom and an unimaginable amount of influence as far as software programming goes. And it gives users a new tool to create new products, and it also leads to more technological innovation and allows for greater ideas of to spread throughout the world. This open source software is driven by what is called a source code. It is part of the software that programmers can manipulate and change how the software works itself. It's usually unseen by a lot of computer users. That's why it usually goes under the radar. But as a whole, the source code allows mainly programmers, but also users, to change the functions of the software itself. It allows people to go into the software and change the functions to fit the context of whatever they want to do. Be it, do they need to track inventory and add more function to it? Do they need to track PO numbers? Do they need to do countless other things? But it allows people to go in and change the functions and components of the software itself to better fit the needs that they need at the present moment. The Open Source Initiative is a global nonprofit that oversees all these open source products and ideas by overlooking the open source definition that is the very heart of what open source even is. And through this, they promote education, collaboration, and infrastructure. So they have education networks to obviously educate people about open source products and open source innovations. They endorse collaboration, connectivity, as well as other things, as well as promoting a strong infrastructure to back up these new products and ideas. And it also looks to prevent abuse of open source concepts, meaning they grant a lot of freedom for these open source users and open source products, but there's also limitations. There's certain things that you cannot change, and there's just certain things that legally you cannot change. This ties into how does open source even work, in that open source products typically will be accompanied by a license. That is, the original creators of the software will send out a license saying that some components of the software cannot be changed, simply because the identity of the original software needs to stay intact. This makes sense. They don't want the entire design of the product being changed and then it be put out as a different version of technically the same thing, but as a different kind of function, and have somebody else profit off of their ideas. So essentially, they are giving people the right to change certain components of this software, but they are also limiting what components can actually be changed. And this gives users voice uh, improvements and suggestions to these developers, so that they can make adjustments, they can make improvements that are necessary for what they need to do, allowing users to essentially be co-developers along with the original developers of this software. And it also allows users to search for bugs and various options to fix them, because there's more than one options to fix bugs, and there's multiple bugs out there. So it allows users, programmers, and developers to all interact and produce better quality products as well as more functional products. And in turn, it is helping the world expand technologically and ideologically, um, promoting new ideas, spreading, and more connection throughout the world. Components of this open source software are uh, more of the same as what I've already said. It allows for people to openly exchange ideas. It promotes collaborative participation and also promotes rapid prototyping. These three, open exchange, as I've already said before, allows the open exchange of ideas to flow from one another, and allows for people to bounce ideas off the top of each other, allowing people to collaborate, and endorses participation from people. It allows people to get involved and to push their ideas so that their voice is always heard, and allows for these ideas to be rapidly introduced into these products. So changes can practically happen overnight. Allows for fluid transition from one version of the product to the new adapted version of the product. And this gives users new capabilities and new connections to technology that have not been seen to date. More components of this is transparency, which essentially means that there's no black and white to what this open source software is capable of. There's very open, there's a large window for these products, as far as changes and capabilities that the base product can provide. And these changes can allow the product to expand to new horizons that the original developers didn't even intend. It also provides merit for these new changes, with the open source initiative kind of backing them. They are providing more credibility towards these changes and allows people to further push their ideas without fear of rejection from bigger companies and from proprietary source systems. And it also allows for a community to develop. So new programmers and users that are using these open source softwares to change their components can interact with one another and form bonds that have not been seen in community before. So it allows for communities to spread and foster, as well as ideas to be interchanged and exchanged. There's various types of open source software. The most notable is Apache HTTP server, as well as Mozilla Firefox, the operating server, or the browsing system, I must say. But there's also Audacity, which is a music production software that is kind of essentially almost like Logic, which is the proprietary source system. But it gives people the ability to change samples, to edit samples and songs, as well as change certain aspects of the program to fit whatever musical project they are working on. So it gives people the creativity to explore the sounds that they envisioned for years, and it gives people more openness to user ideas towards a certain project. The benefits of open source, most of them have already been said, like customability, freedom, and flexibility. There's really no black and white to what you can do in these products. I mean, there is, but there's very open environments for products to be changed and for products to be innovated. It's security is optimized through its networks of users that will back their ideas, and they find security in multiple people accepting their ideas, as well as promote these new ideas will promote more quality products, more innovative products that will in turn help everybody as a whole instead of the individual. More benefits, auditability. People like having their voices heard, their opinions heard. So this open source software allows for people to voice their opinions without the fear of being rejected. And it allows for people, as I said, to form these communities and have that support option behind them. It allows for the try before you buy, which is a huge concern amongst users because they want to test the software, make sure that it will adapt or it will work with the setting that they need. And it allows for people to operate between each other at the same time, allows for more cohesion and more operability with these products. But there are also some drawbacks. A lot of the business world thinks that open source software serves as kind of a barrier because they like rigid, continuous software, where open source software provides more flexible software in that business owners don't want to go to work one day and use one version of a software and come back the next day and it be completely changed, and they have to change their systems and everything like that. They also fear its lack of training and lack of support, technical support, to be very problematic in that if the software crashes or there's problems within the software, there are very few resources for them to reach out to in order to help them solve these problems. In turn, it will hurt their business and only lead to losses in the end. So they want more rigid programs, more continuous programs than open source, but they also value its flexibility that it provides. But it's also very hard to comprehend to ordinary users. There's very intricate parts to it that only programmers may be able to understand. It's less user friendly sometimes. There are indirect costs associated, and sometimes there's just malicious and harmful users. That's the human element behind it. There's people out there that aren't going to be friendly. There's people that are going to be unreliable and want to interrupt and change what you're doing and degrade what you're doing. So there's always unforeseen circumstances when it comes to open source software, no matter what benefit it may bring. Is open source software for everyone? I mean, the answer is yes and no. There's creative freedom involved, there's innovative capabilities, there's technological and ideological advancements happening, but there's also like unforeseen future costs. It's less secure, it's more prone to piracy or viruses. Business owners sometimes will accept open source software, sometimes they won't, based on circumstances, but it really just depends on user preference and user capabilities in the end. So in conclusion, open source software promotes friendly environments. It fuels spreads of ideas and technology throughout the world. It can provide users with creative capabilities that they did not have before. It provides flexible and applicable programs that allow business owners to connect to other people like they have not had before. They have not had this capability before. But there's also concerns with security, malicious users, and unforeseen circumstances that sometimes may deter them. But in the end, at least in my opinion, the benefits highly outweigh the costs. It allows for a more collaborative environment, a more cohesive environment to work in. And in turn, it allows us to connect to each other in ways that we've never had before, and will only push the level of technological advancement for years to come. My name has been Austin Ralph. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.